Like I talked about in my last video, election is over, but Trump is refusing to concede. We are not expecting that Trump will actually concede the election, but we were still hoping that at some point he will accept the results and move on. But it looks like it might not happen anytime soon. And we saw that he's pressuring a lot of different lawmakers in different states and hoping that with his pressure they will not certify the results. But that did not succeed. He tried to do that in Michigan, he tried to do that in Georgia, he tried to do that in other states, but they're not willing to go along with him. And we know that he filed a lot of lawsuits. A lot of those were dismissed already, denied, applications were denied, or they were withdrawn by his own team because arguments were not valid. And then we saw Texas actually coming and suing 4 states in Supreme Court. Supreme Court came down and said Texas did not have any standing. I think the question is, why is Texas coming in to this specific type of case and asking Supreme Court to overturn the election in 4 different states? Why are they doing that? I think we can guess what is happening. The Attorney General in Texas is trying to make sure that he's in good side of Trump. We have seen that more than 100 House of Representatives backed that lawsuits. 19 other state AGs came and also supported that lawsuit, and they're filing with Supreme Court. Why are they doing that? I think it's really easy to see where Republican Party is heading now. Republican Party is not heading in a place where they will stand for any type of principles. They're not going to stand for democracy. They're only going to stand for what Trump wants. And they do care what Trump wants is because Trump did get 75 million votes. And I think that's a significant number, and that is a number that they keep going back to. All these Republicans are scared that these voters, Trump voters, will not vote for them. And we can already see that in Georgia, where a lot of people are saying if the election was rigged or if the machines were not working, why should they come and participate in the new runoff election on January 5? The problem is if Trump voters do not show up on January 5 for this election, both of those seats will go to Democrats. So Republicans want to keep those seats. They have to go along with Trump. And that's exactly what the people who are running for Senate from Georgia are doing. They are not conceding the election like Trump is. He's not conceding the election. He's not accepting the results. The same way they are not conceding the election. They are not accepting the results. So Texas brought this lawsuit against 4 states in Supreme Court. And Supreme Court came down and they denied that application. Supreme Court will not be hearing that case. Supreme Court will not be giving Texas to come to court and make some type of argument why they believe they have a reasonable case here. And so when they refuse to accept a case, they're basically denying it without really listening to it. And the reason they gave was of standing. Texas didn't have a standing to bring this case. Basically, the way it works is Texas, they will decide how their election will be run. It's the Texas legislature who decide the rules, how the election will be held. The same way as Georgia legislature who decide how the election will be held. Same way in Michigan, same way in Wisconsin, same way in Pennsylvania and other states. So it is an internal matter. And I think that's exactly what Supreme Court is trying to say here. After going over the case, I realized that the arguments that Texas made could have been very different arguments. If they wanted to continue with the case, they could have made similar argument but also added more arguments to actually have standing, so they can actually go inside the court and able to have this case be heard by judges. When we think about standing is like, what is their reason And how is something that you are arguing about, something you're bringing to court's attention, how is that hurting you? If it's not hurting you, if it's not something related to you, you don't have any good reason to come to court and ask for something. Court could have gone other ways. They could have actually said, no, we are not going to listen to this case because the arguments that you're making are not valid arguments. Instead, they said that Texas doesn't have standing. And I think a lot of people were expecting Supreme Court to come really hard on this and make a big point here that this is it. Stop trying to overturn the election. And that would be a message that would be sent to Texas. That would be a message sent to Donald Trump and all his Republican supporters. But they decided to not hear the case because they think that Texas doesn't have standing. You cannot sue someone unless you have standing. And that's exactly what court have done many times. If someone is coming from another out of state, if someone is coming outside the lawsuit, and they're coming into the lawsuit and is making arguments saying, we want to sue this person and this is our reason, the first thing the court looks at is if they have standing. If someone doesn't have standing, the court will not hear the case. They will throw the case out. And that's exactly what Supreme Court did in this case. They did not hear the case where Texas is saying that they want to sue these 4 other states. Now, why is Texas doing that? I think the Texas AG, Attorney General, he's doing this to police Trump. And he's not alone. More than 100 Republican House of Representatives, they are supporting this lawsuit. More than 19 other attorney generals, after the lawsuit was filed, they joined with this application. Donald Trump also joined with this application. But Supreme Court have shut it down and they will not be hearing this case. This should be it. This should be the last word from the Supreme Court. They have decided they are not going to hear anything about election. And they're not supposed to hear anything about election. Election is decided by the people, not by the Supreme Court or any other court. And people have spoken. Our democracy is in danger. And this is exactly how the demise of democracy happens when parties like Republican Party and candidates like Donald Trump refuse to accept the results. We have seen this in third world countries. We have seen this in other countries where we will have election, someone will claim there was a fraud, and sometimes there is a fraud. But we have not seen any type of evidence in this election. Department of Justice, William Barr, Attorney General, came out and said after investigation, they did not find any systematic fraud. This is the Attorney General who was appointed by Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is very angry with William Barr right now because he came out and said there was no fraud. Before that, we had another agency come out and say that based on their assessment, this election was not rigged, there was no fraud, there were no hacking, and so on. And Donald Trump fired that man because this is the person Donald Trump is. He's a horrible human being. He has no morals, and he's after our democracy now. He doesn't care if there's another day in America. If he's not the president, he doesn't give a crap. And that's the problem we have in America now. No one really cares as long as it's helping them. Republican Party, they're still supporting Donald Trump because they want to get the votes for next election. Because Donald Trump is not going away. His kids are not going away. They will be running for other elections. And this is exactly what we'll be facing. We have to wake up. Republican Party have to wake up. And we as Americans have to decide, are we going to just be with Donald Trump or are we going to be with democracy? The choice is with the people, the same way the choice was with the people when they elected Biden.